The 1970s were a decade when the automotive world completely lost its way. Welcome to Remember That Car, the channel where we revisit the most amazing and the most disastrous cars in history. The decade began with American arrogance, giant engines, shiny chrome, and fuel consumption that no one dared to question. But then came 1973. The oil crisis hit Detroit like a hammer. Suddenly, those thirsty V8s turned from symbols of power into public enemies. Gas prices skyrocketed, consumers panicked, and engineers were forced to reinvent everything fast. It was the birth of an era of creative panic. American, Japanese, and European automakers rushed to build smaller, lighter, and sometimes completely bizarre cars. The result? A parade of awkward prototypes, rushed decisions, and designs that looked more like fever dreams than engineering. Today, we're diving into the 15 dumbest car designs of the 1970s. Vehicles so strange, so poorly planned, they became legends of failure. And trust me, number one isn't just ugly, it's dangerously unforgettable. Chevrolet Chevette, the boring mistake. Launched in 1976, the Chevrolet Chevette became GM's desperate answer to the Japanese invasion. While the Toyota Corolla and Datsun F10 were winning American hearts with reliability and smart engineering, GM needed something cheap, fast. The result was the Chevette, a car so basic and uninspired it looked like it had been designed over a single weekend. Nothing about it stood out. Bland styling, dull interior, and a weak 1.4-liter engine that barely produced 52 horsepower. It took forever to reach 60 miles per hour, and even longer to find a reason to care. It wasn't just underpowered, it had no personality. The Chevette became the definition of mediocrity. It was the car nobody wanted to drive, but everyone knew someone who owned one. It wasn't terrible enough to hate, nor good enough to love, it just existed. Porsche 914, the Porsche that wasn't. Imagine buying a Porsche, only to find out it had a Volkswagen engine. That was the 914th. In the late 1960s, Porsche and Volkswagen teamed up to create an affordable sports car. The result was a mid-engine, square-shaped coupe that looked more like a toy than a track machine. Purists hated it. It lacked the roar, the elegance, and the soul of a 911. The early versions even used a 1.7-liter Volkswagen Type 4 engine, the same one found in vans and wagons. It handled well, sure, but it looked awkward and felt unfinished. To many enthusiasts, it was the poor man's Porsche. Ironically, the 914 is now considered a cult classic, but back in the 70s it was a badge of embarrassment, proof that even Porsche could miss the mark. Ferrari Mondial 8, the luxury failure. Even Ferrari stumbled. The Mondial 8 looked more like a confused executive car than an Italian masterpiece. Its square lines lacked grace, its heavy proportions killed performance, and its V8 barely made 214 horsepower, a disappointment by Ferrari standards. To make matters worse, routine maintenance required removing the entire engine. It spent more time in workshops than on open roads. Owners loved the badge but hated the headaches. The Mondial 8 became a reminder that even legends can lose their way when they chase mass appeal instead of passion. Trabant, the socialist fossil. During the Cold War, while the West raced toward the future, East Germany stayed trapped in time. Its national car, the Trabant, became both a symbol of pride and proof of limitation. Built by IFA, the Trabant's body was made of Duraplast, a mix of cotton fibers and resin, a kind of plastic-like shell with the texture of a toy. Its tiny two-stroke engine puffed out blue smoke and made a sound that reminded many of a lawnmower. Yet, for millions, owning one was a dream. Waiting lists stretched up to 10 years. When the long-awaited car finally arrived, buyers discovered it had no fuel gauge, weak brakes, and sluggish performance. Still, the Trabi became a cultural icon, so bad it was loved. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, thousands of them crossed into West Germany, leaving behind a trail of smoke and nostalgia. Today, the Trabant stands as a relic of creativity under constraint, a machine that reminds us how politics, economics, and design once collided in both tragic and comedic ways. If this story surprised you, hit the like button right now. It helps the channel reach more people who love forgotten automotive history. Ford Thunderbird, Big Beak, the excessive eagle. In the 1950s and 60s, the Thunderbird was the very definition of American elegance. But by 1970, Ford decided that luxury needed a beak. The new T-Bird came with an oversized, pointed front end and a massive chrome grille that looked like the nose of a steel eagle. It weighed over 2 tons, guzzled fuel like a tank, and handled like a boat. Even the press couldn't resist poking fun. One critic wrote, "The Thunderbird stopped being a bird, it's now a Thanksgiving turkey." It perfectly symbolized the arrogance of pre-oil crisis America, when size mattered more than sense and style outweighed substance. A car built to impress, but remembered mostly for how ridiculous it looked. Datsun F10, the weird Japanese one. Japan was already known for building efficient cars, but not every model was a design success. The Datsun F10 is the perfect example. It was Nissan's first front-wheel drive car sold in the United States, meant to feel futuristic and modern, but instead it looked strange. Its front end resembled an insect. The rear wheels were almost completely covered, and the whole shape looked swollen. Part van, part coupe, part confusion. It was a car without an identity. Even loyal Datsun fans couldn't defend it. Road and Track magazine once called it an insult to Japanese design. It was quickly replaced, and today it lives on only in lists like this one, a reminder that even Japan had its design disasters during the 1970s. Liata Caballero, the fake luxury. Few people have ever heard of the Liata Caballero, and that might be a good thing. Built in Idaho by a small company with big dreams, the Caballero tried to turn a humble Chevrolet Chevette into a retro luxury car. The body was made of fiberglass, with oversized chrome trims, bulging headlights, and a front end that tried, and failed, to imitate the classic style of the 1930s. But under the fancy disguise, it was still a Chevette. Same weak engine, same unimpressive performance. It was all show, no substance, like a carnival ride pretending to be a Rolls-Royce. It was expensive, sold in tiny numbers, and aged horribly. Today, it's a rare collector's item, but not one many people are proud to show off. Volvo 262C Bertone, the confused Swedish Italian. The Volvo 262C Bertone represents one of the most curious chapters in automotive history. Developed by Swedish manufacturer Volvo and Italian coach builder Bertone between 1977 and 1981, this two-door coupe was meant to bring luxury and exclusivity to the Volvo 200 series line. The concept was simple on paper: a sleek, stylish cruiser with refined materials, leather interiors, wood trim, and upscale features typically reserved for premium luxury cars. The reality, however, turned out differently. Although the vehicle shared mechanicals with the Volvo 264 sedan, including the PRV V6 engine, its external proportions were compromised. Bertone shortened and lowered the roofline, leaned the windshield, and grafted on a vinyl roof. The result looked both too tall and too flat, creating a visual mismatch. In many eyes, the 262C looked like a Swede in an Italian suit, 2 sizes too small. Inside it carried the elegance of premium materials, but outside it suffered from awkward form and styling contradictions. The wide C-pillars, compact rear window, and design compromises made it feel neither fully Volvo nor truly Italian. With about 6,622 units built worldwide, mostly for the U.S. market, the 262C was too niche for its own good. The ambition was real, the execution less so. It became symbolic of an era when even good ideas in the automotive world could turn strange under pressure. Have you ever seen a Volvo 262C in person? What do you think? Brilliant concept or styling misstep? Let us know in the comments, and if you're enjoying these stories of forgotten automotive oddities, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss our next dive into the machines that time tried to bury. Austin Allegro, the square that failed. The Austin Allegro became the ultimate symbol of British automotive decline. Built by British Leyland as the car of the future, it quickly became a national joke. Its design was too round in some places, too square in others, as if no one could agree on what shape it should be. But its biggest flaw wasn't the body, it was the steering wheel. The infamous quartic wheel was a square circle, uncomfortable to hold and awkward to steer. Drivers hated it. Mechanics hated it. Even comedians loved making fun of it. The Allegro also rusted easily, leaked oil, and suffered constant mechanical problems. In Britain, it became shorthand for industrial failure. One BBC comedian once joked, "The Allegro was built for people who wanted to drive and suffer at the same time." Reliant Robin, the car that tipped itself over. It looked like a car. It sounded like a car, but it had one wheel too few. The Reliant Robin was Britain's attempt to make the lightest and cheapest car possible. With only one front wheel, it was technically classified as a motorcycle, which meant lower taxes and easier registration. But that same feature made it dangerously unstable. Take a corner too fast, and the Robin would flip over, sometimes even in a straight line. TV shows like Top Gear turned it into comedy gold, showing it rolling over again and again. Still, it sold surprisingly well among budget-conscious drivers. Today, it's remembered not for its practicality, but for its legendary clumsiness, the most unintentionally funny vehicle ever built. Bricklin SV1, the failed hero. In the 1970s, while the automotive world was ruled by giant corporations and even bigger egos, one man decided to dream differently. His name was Malcolm Bricklin, a Canadian entrepreneur determined to create the safest sports car ever built. His vision became the SV1, short for Safety Vehicle 1. It was designed to prove that a sports car could combine performance with protection. On paper, it was brilliant. In practice, it was a disaster. The SV1 had futuristic gull-wing doors, an acrylic-reinforced fiberglass body, and a built-in roll cage. It even had crash zones and energy-absorbing bumpers, decades ahead of its time, but the execution failed. The heavy hydraulic doors often jammed, sometimes trapping drivers inside. The plastic panels warped in heat. The V8 engine from AMC delivered mediocre performance, and the build quality was poor. The SV1 was expensive, slow, and fragile. Not a great mix for a supercar. Despite government support and high hopes, the company collapsed after only 2 years. Just 2,854 units were ever made. Today, the Bricklin is remembered as the DeLorean before the DeLorean, a bold experiment that proved one painful truth. In the world of sports cars, good intentions aren't enough when engineering can't keep up with ambition. Sebring Vanguard City Car, the plastic cube. The Sebring Vanguard City Car was one of the most curious experiments in automotive history. Produced between 1974 and 1977 in Florida, it was a full production electric vehicle at a time when most manufacturers still saw battery power as science fiction. On the outside, the city car looked more like a golf cart with a roof than an automobile. Its wedge-shaped body, flat surfaces, and minimal detailing gave it a toy-like appearance. Early versions were equipped with a 2.5 horsepower or 3.5 horsepower motor and 6 6-volt lead-acid batteries and could reach around 30 miles per hour at best. Inside, its promise was bold: a low-cost, emission-free vehicle for city commuting in the midst of a fuel crisis. But the execution left much to be desired. With limited range of about 40 miles in ideal conditions, thin safety features, and minimal comfort, it struggled to find an audience. Despite its flaws, the city car achieved a milestone. It became the best-selling electric vehicle in the U.S. until decades later. It serves now as a reminder that innovation sometimes arrives too early, in the wrong form. The city car was brave, odd, and under-engineered, but in its own way it laid a foundation for today's electric mobility. AMC Gremlin, the cutoff car. The AMC Gremlin was born out of panic. AMC needed a small, affordable car to compete with the Ford Pinto and the new wave of imports, but had no time or money to build one from scratch. Their solution? They literally chopped the back off the AMC Hornet sedan. The result was a car that looked abruptly sliced, short, stubby, and oddly proportioned. But surprisingly, it worked. The Gremlin sold over 600,000 units and became a quirky favorite among young drivers. It was cheap, reliable, and so weird that it eventually became cool. Today, it's remembered as one of the ugliest success stories in automotive history. AMC Pacer, the rolling fishbowl. The AMC Pacer stands out as one of the most unforgettable cars of the 1970s. Introduced by American Motors Corporation in 1975, it was intended as a compact car with spacious ambitions. What makes it truly unique is how radically it diverged from common design and engineering conventions. Originally, AMC planned to power the Pacer with a futuristic rotary Wankel engine, a bold and risky move. When that plan collapsed, AMC instead used a conventional internal combustion engine, which led to the car's now famous wide, egg-shaped body with massive wraparound windows. The Pacer boasted a width of 77 inches, while being only around 171 inches long, making it unusually broad for its size. That bubble-like cabin and huge glass area gave it the nickname Fishbowl on Wheels. Its design created a futuristic impression, yet it also looked oversized and awkward. Critics and buyers alike were divided. While the glass area reached nearly 37% of the overall surface, impressive for the era, the car's weight, odd proportions, and underwhelming performance undermined its promise. Though it struggled in its time, the Pacer has since become a cultural icon and collector's item. Its appearance in movies like Wayne's World cemented its status as a quirky relic of the 70s. What do you think? Was the AMC Pacer a daring ahead-of-its-time experiment, or simply a styling misstep? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you found this odd but fascinating story worthwhile, and subscribe to Remember That Car for more deep dives into cars that changed the game or made us shake our heads. Ford Pinto, the deadly mistake. At the top of our list is a car remembered not for innovation, but for one of the most infamous engineering failures in history. The Ford Pinto was born under pressure. In the early 1970s, Ford needed a compact car fast, a model under $2,000, ready in under 2 years. Production began before safety testing was complete. And that's when engineers discovered a fatal flaw. The fuel tank was mounted behind the rear axle, dangerously close to the bumper. In rear-end collisions, it could rupture and ignite. Internal memos revealed Ford executives knew about the issue. Fixing it would have cost $11 per car. Paying settlements, they calculated, would be cheaper. By the late 1970s, dozens of fiery crashes and lawsuits had turned the Pinto into a national scandal. A 1978 recall affected over 1 million cars. The Grimshaw versus Ford Motor Company case resulted in massive damages, and the Pinto's name was forever tarnished. The car was discontinued in 1980, but its legacy endures as a warning of what happens when corporate speed outruns moral responsibility. So, what do you think? Should Ford have faced greater accountability for the Pinto tragedy? Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to Remember That Car. Because here, we don't just talk about cars, we uncover the stories the automakers tried to bury.